Hey, thanks so much for hitting play. I truly appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for sharing your comments as well. Just a shout out to Simone. She shares, hey, I've just started listening to your podcast and loving it. Plenty of food for thought. And I love the length of them. Makes it achievable. Yay. Thanks so much, Simone. And today is a short one. But speaking of food for thought, my Red Carpet Campout collaborator, Steve Demedio, reached out and he said, oh, I've got dietaries from everyone that's coming along, but I haven't checked in with you. Like, what is your dietary requirement? And I wrote back, this is by SMS, and I said, I eat clean and I drink dirty. So I just thought, this is going to be a good podcast episode. And this is a phrase, eat clean, drink dirty. First of all, you might understand what this means without even explaining it to you. You might be similar to me or you might be different. This happened when Chris and I were in Thailand earlier this year. So we'd wake up, have a coffee, like hydrate, go to the gym, go running, eat a really healthy breakfast, like lots of fruit. We were really good. And then in the afternoon approaches, sunset approaches, and there's nothing better than in Thailand than like watching the sunset and having a nice singer or a Chang or a mojito in your hand while that happens. And so we formed this diet. This is my diet. It is the eat clean, drink dirty diet. And I never really have shared that publicly, but I thought now is the time. Not really one for diets at all, but I think as I was like, we were joking about it as a way of being. And I think it really kind of summarizes how I like to approach life as well. Now, a bit of a disclaimer, some people can't do this. Some people can't moderate the amount that they drink dirty, and then that becomes a real problem. So I'm not talking to you here. I guess there's a whole narrative around drinking and how bad it is for you. And I completely agree. Like I definitely know this. And when I wear my Oura ring after even one beer, sometimes my sleep just isn't that great. I think we well and truly understand the long-term effects of sustained alcohol on everything from cancer through to diseases, all of that. Like it's been well documented. And as a result, when I am scrolling on social media, so many people and friends are just saying, look, I've stopped giving up alcohol and I feel incredible. My head is so clear. I wake up, I have all this energy. And I'm like, that sounds incredible. I mean, who doesn't want that in their lives? And they're like, you know what? I actually, right now, I know people are like, oh, once you stop drinking for a few months, you won't have that brain fog. And you don't even realize you have a brain fog when you're like, I get that. But at the moment, I think I've got enough energy. I think definitely got enough energy. I feel like I've got clarity on my thoughts already. I'm just going to run an interesting counterpoint to this one around, is life really all about having energy and having mental clarity? If that's how you judge the success of your life, that's important. And I love having sober days out, sober evenings out. I don't see this as a huge part of my identity. I think that's where it can get a bit scary, of course. I feel like, is the mental clarity and having all that extra energy really worth, for me, the sacrifice of not having a fun, light, great conversation over a cool beer or a champagne to celebrate something? When you feel with a mate, life is so serious, and sometimes just having a drink just lets you sort of sit back in and relax and enjoy the moment. And for me, I love those moments as part of life. I have a friend that works in the police force, and she's been there for decades, and she was talking about the rise of mental health in the police force. And she said that something really shifted when back in the 80s and 90s on Friday afternoon, the cops could sit around and have a few beers in the afternoon and just wind down and talk about their day. And that doesn't happen anymore. She was relating that from her personal experience, just to seeing the cops not opening up to each other, not having that space and time to do it in that relaxed way. Now, I know the Australian culture is very much like, and I don't like the culture that we've got in terms of kind of bogans and drinking a lot, but I definitely think there is an upside to having one or two drinks with people in terms of just removing barriers, getting into really casual conversation. I always talk about my 2-drink strategy. After 2 drinks, I just seem to have, I don't have any filters for my ideas and words. And so they just sort of come out, and it's actually quite good for me. So yes, there is a net positive in terms of your physical health for not drinking, but in terms of your mental health, like I don't know if the gains are so high. And going back to what I originally said, this is not about over-indexing on going really hard on drinking versus cold turkey. We're seeing the rise of like 0% alcohol beers and things like that. So I'm really happy that there's other mocktails and things people can have so they go out and still feel comfortable. But at the same time, I don't think we should persecute people that enjoy just having 1 or 2 drinks a week, especially because, let's be honest, when you are having a drink with someone, you feel more casual, you connect a bit more, you can talk about things that maybe you wouldn't talk about without having that. So that's just one insight I wanted to share on this podcast around that. But I guess the compensation for me on the other side of that in terms of the moderating part is keeping my commitments, eating well, exercising, and all those things too. The eat clean is obviously try to eat as well as you can. And then at first I thought, am I sabotaging myself here? And I'm like, no, I actually enjoy doing both. And I love that they counteract each other, to be honest. And what this means for me is like long-term sustainability. If I just was eating clean and drinking clean, I don't know if I could sustain that for very long. But the fact that I can do both and get away with it, I mean, I'm 40 now, maybe we'll see what happens when I get older. I think it's okay. And that's because having this moderation allows me to stick to a routine without actually feeling deprived. And I don't go over the top because I have to go back and eat clean and exercise clean the next morning. So long lunches are like my preferred medium. It's all about being sustainable over time. As of February 2025, that's where I see myself at, the Eat Clean, Drink Dirty movement. Where do you place yourself on that? Curious to hear your thoughts. And thanks for listening to this one. I know it might inspire some conversations or you might have counterpoints. I'm open to hearing all of them. Thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.